ones who are teaching have to transform themselves to teach with new tools and technology, which perhaps they would have been shying away, right? And in addition to being the CEO of Mahanadya, I'm also professor of practice. It's been started with an occupational hazard when I was the program head and manager of interfaces with industry forums and academic institutions, and we also have Amity University, and then erstwhile director HOD from Sharda University, with whom we opened the Center of Excellence in Internet of Things. So I have actually seen, the classrooms with projectors, to those blackboards, to whiteboards, and now to those smart boards, which believe, I take a second and look back, okay, now this is how it's going to function, right? Where is the pen? So when I entered, I said, where's the board pen? And it says, you don't need a board pen, we have a smart TV for this. So I think I'll continue this, discussion, bringing now the suppliers, from the industry. We just saw the demand side. We see how things have changed. The people who consume this technology to the people who are providing this technology. And just one interesting fact, that Indian edtech industry was valued around 12.75 billion US dollars in 2024. The projection rate now for growth is almost 5 times, 61.25 billion by 2035. And this stat is coming from IBEF, from Market Research Future.
So as an educational institution, when artificial intelligence requirement and the digital tool requirement came in and the students becoming more employable, we were having actually two challenges. One thing is how it is to be designed, that what is to be taught and how it is to be taught. Now, innovations take place at two different places. Either in academic labs, then it becomes very easy to take it to the classroom. So probably Albert Einstein developed E is equal to mc square. It was very easy to take it to the classroom. He was having academic writings, books and papers written to it. And there is a mechanism which is available for classroom teaching, and you go and deliver it. Any innovation which happens in industry, now there is a chain of events. You have to convert that particular idea, that particular innovation into a classroom delivery material first. Then it has to be brought to the classroom. Then there is an assessment which has to be designed. So there is a lot of technicality involved when you are bringing any idea from industry to classroom, and which is to be given to the students. So when I talk about artificial intelligence, the biggest challenge in Indian higher education system in order to increase employability is everybody is talking about skill. That develop the skills, develop the skills, develop the skills, develop the skills. And this is an air which is floating from West, typical blue collar mentality which actually we are enforcing on Indian higher education system. We don't see it that skill is a byproduct of the knowledge. The Western air doesn't talk about skill much in their universities. They are still building on knowledge, and then if you acquire the skill, it becomes 10x faster. So they are pushing this into Asian countries, largely only think about skill, only develop on skills, only give the practical knowledge, only work on the practical. They do not even talk about the balance of the delivery these days. And the reasoning is pretty simple. In their universities, systems are still knowledge driven, where first the knowledge comes and then the skill comes, and the skill becomes 10x faster. In this scarcity of time, otherwise I could have given n number of examples. How do you see artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a system which builds knowledge using the skill.
Teachers are using AI-based tools and techniques to increase participation of students. The entire content is getting gamified. All the curriculum is getting gamified to increase participation of students. As a result, the attention of students are getting increased in classrooms. And when a student is more attentive in the classroom, the learning retention increases automatically 2 or 3 times. Another thing that affects the attention span of the students is what is the environment in which he is studying. It is not just about the pedagogy or the tools that are being deployed for teaching to the student. It is also about the environment in which they are studying. Studies have shown that if you have a carbon dioxide ppm inside your classroom that is high, say above 1000 ppm or around 1400 ppm, it decreases the focus and attention of the students by half. The focus of students decreases by half. Students start getting more drowsy. So now these days we are coming up with interactive flat panels that have inbuilt carbon dioxide sensors. that is able to tell the teachers when the carbon dioxide level inside a classroom is increasing, when the teacher might think about giving a short break of 2 to 3 minutes for the students to kind of reset themselves so that the learning outcomes increases. Plus gamification. The entire, when you talk about gamification, the entire curriculum has kind of shifted towards gamification. Tools like quizzes, polls, Kahoot is being used more and more to make the students more interact, to increase the engagement of students in the classroom, basically. Plus, we are coming up with new technologies which make students move, learn, play in the classroom. We are changing the geometry of the classroom by, as Varun mentioned very correctly, that the students are still, even with the age of tablets and interactive flat panels, students are still being forced to look forward, and the teaching methodology, even though it has become more engaging, it is still a teacher dominant teaching method where the teacher is giving the lecture and students are still in a sense a passive recipient of the lecture. So to overcome that, especially for the early age students or the primary students who have kind of screen fatigue or the attention span for them has been reduced to 15 minutes, as was pointed out by one of my panelists. We are coming up with solutions like Active Floor, which is more of an interactive floor-based solution where students can learn, jump, engage. Entire curriculum will be gamified, so you are basically playing on an interactive projection. Because you are engaged in the classroom, because you are physically engaged, you will be much more likely to engage the content or to kind of retain the content than what was there earlier.
For COVID, okay, so schools or institutions used to see technology as an option. You know, it was there, but it was not absolutely necessary to use it. It was nice to have inside the classroom, but not. It was just an option. You can use it or you can just not use it. But after COVID, I believe that has changed. The mindset has changed. Students and teachers have accepted technology, and it is absolutely necessary for them to grow with it, you know. And when transformation happened, it happened overnight. You know, when COVID happened, when school shut down, I used to teach back then. So me as a teacher, I had to grow overnight. I had to use, you know, digital classroom overnight and learn. But now that transformation is happening slowly and gradually because institutions are providing trainings and technical support and infrastructure as well. And also the learning has become more inclusive and interactive as well. And even the students are being a part of that. One-way teaching is not applicable right now in the classroom. And even students are also, you know, wanting more inclusive and interactive teaching style, I believe. And also, I think now everyone has realized that, you know, learning just does not stop when you are not in the classroom or when teachers or students are not in the classroom. It stops when you stop accepting changes and when you stop growing with the time and transformation. I believe that. And I think that mindset has changed. And also now I would just like to add that states also they are moving towards 70 to 80% of digital classroom. So I think that itself says that now things have changed from past 4 years. If I see lot of acceptance, lot of transformation has happened. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for including us in this panel. So what we observed during our sort of times of struggles, we are relatively new a brand. So what we did was we went back to our basics. Our parent has been involved in distribution for past 3 decades, over 3 decades. So we went back, capitalized on our strengths. Instead of just giving out solutions that are fancy, instead of giving them something that they might struggle with or find a barrier to, we provided outcomes wherein on a trust-based business, on a solution that was easy to replicate, on a solution, even the AI and everything that we are incorporating right now. So we are doing it in a way which is not rushed. We are trying to gain their trust, make them comfortable and then implement it, which goes a long way. And post-COVID, as everyone in the panel has said, it's not a luxury anymore. It is a necessity. We have to grow with the system or we are left behind. And as the previous panelists had mentioned, AI is not here to replace anyone. It is there to enhance learning outcomes and enhance everyone's lifestyles. So need of the hour is to capitalize on the technology that is available, and that is what we do through our network and systems, wherein we make them comfortable enough to come in, experience the product at all our facilities, and then adapt. And even if at a future date they feel that they need a necessary training or some extra hand-holding is required, so we have teams placed pan-India. So yes, essentially going back to the basics was what brought us here and what has made us into a brand that we are now.
Now what has happened, I will talk more from a perspective of technology. So what was happening pre-COVID, it was more like you are providing one projector, one screen in the classroom. It was not necessary in most of the classrooms. But with COVID, what happened? So it suddenly overnight became a panic buying. But in that panic buying, most of the things what was happening was you were constantly focusing on the necessities. So a lot of small devices were purchased, laptops were purchased, and the students were, when they came back, so they were coming from, you can say, a single a pointed direction to interactive direction. That's definitely it was there. But what happened was their attention span shortened to a greater degree. So it happened, let's say maybe to a size of about 20 or between 15 minutes. That is what happened. And definitely they were more pressing for a passive form of education to a more interactive form of education. And hence the next progression happened, wherein we see the post-COVID era technology transformation that has happened. Now a lot of emphasis has been put on that it should not be unidirectional, but it became then collaborative approach. It became more immersive. It became more intelligent in terms of how education is being imparted at that particular level. And definitely, it started to then draw a lot of attention from all the EV brands, wherein we started to see not only from you can say the so-called the demand getting generated from upper side of the school stratas or maybe tier 1 cities, but also from tier 2, tier 3. So definitely technology became great enabler at that time in terms of how the education is being imparted to the students. And the schools themselves started taking the audio-visual devices not merely a system, but to a complete education solution-based systems which they need to have in the classrooms.
Just continuing on this line, when ma'am you were focusing more into the terms of pandemic, I would rather put it in this way, that pandemic has actually not changed the direction of education, rather it has accelerated the adoption. A change which was supposed to happen in 15 years happened in less than 18 months. That's where we are. The good part of it is that because of this infrastructure that people created to adopt to pandemic, let's say bringing in an hybrid learning in the schools, today most of the schools are able to adopt AI because we wanted this infrastructure to be in place. So the core of the fundamentals that any technology provider here providing this AV technology needs to make sure is that are we giving this solution which is future ready, that our classrooms can be there not just for today but for tomorrow and forever. So today, as ma'am you rightly mentioned, that there are discussions that can we go back to the pandemic type of having online learning. So do we have the devices ready for accepting that in terms of having a blended classroom? It's not just happening in India. So we have been in touch with other countries, let's say Philippines. Philippines government has made it mandate that every school should adopt blended learning, should have synchronous and asynchronous mode of learning happening right from your younger grade of students. And people want to have effectiveness in all of this, and that effectiveness will happen when you have the software, the hardware blended together to enable this. And that's where we come from. And just the icing on top of the cake is right now AI. We cannot deny saying that AI will not replace Rather, AI is definitely here to enable teachers, enable effectiveness in the classroom, and enable learning outcomes. And how we as a technology player is here to partner is not just selling a box. So when we are here as a partner providing AV solutions, we are not here to sell a box, but rather we are here to co-create outcomes. We are here to co-create an infrastructure, co-create experience, and make sure we are able to deliver outcomes. When I say outcomes, it's the outcomes in terms of teaching, and the outcomes in terms of learning, and the outcomes in terms of a management making sure that things are going on in the right direction.